Yep, I know. Yet another snowy egret. Can't believe it. I photographed a lot of them recently. Um, First things first in Photoshop here, I'm going, Photoshop, geez, Lightroom, I'm going to straighten it out. Then I'm just going to crop out a little bit of that left side. And the camera actually picked up more detail than I kind of remember from when I was shooting that day. So I'm going to punch up the highlights, bring the blacks back down a little bit. I really want to make this image I want super moody and contrasty. And so I'm going to do that in an interesting way. The color I think is good. I'm going to warm it just a tiny bit on the bird, or well, overall, but I want the bird to be warmer. And so I'll hop into Photoshop now. Actually, let me just check this horizon again. I'm just going to go right through the middle of this water back there. Yeah, seems pretty straight. All right, into Photoshop. Okay. First things first, let's clean up some stuff here. We got some feathers laying around. Damn birds leaving their feathers everywhere. So I'm just going to clone out these kind of light spots. Ooh, that didn't work very good. Let's try the healing brush on those. Back to cloning. That's looking good. Get rid of this real dark blob there. Some of those lighter ones. Lighter one there. Get rid of that one. And now some of these, like this dark area right here, I'll soften it up anyway, but I'm not looking to kind of totally get rid of all those because the edit I'm going to do on this is going to reduce everything so much that we're barely going to see it. Let's brighten up the yellow lures and the eye. So just a curves dodge layer. I went too far on the lures there, so I'll bring that back. Interesting, he's got a little bit of like some dirty feathers there, but looking good. All right, so now I said I want it to go really dark and moody with this. And this is just, it's a little bit of how I saw it that day. I just remember it being super moody like this, but also I'm just taking kind of a creative license on this and editing this just to be way more dramatic. So I just darken the whole thing, and now I'll go in with the layer mask and cut out the bird precisely and bring all that detail, the lightness, I should say, back onto the bird itself. So we'll get that nice bright white bird standing out in this dark background. And now I almost likely went way too far with my adjustment there on the background. It's probably going to look completely absurd, but I'm doing that just so I can really see what I'm cutting out here. And don't worry, those little bit of feathers that I'm missing on the back there, I'll go back and fix that in just a bit. So I went really far just so I can see what I'm doing. It makes it a lot easier to kind of mask this out when it's extreme like that instead of a subtle difference. So I do that all the time. So I'm just going to go through, mask this bird out. It should be really quick. The bird's kind of small in the frame and just a pretty basic shape. Any of these real soft, like wispy feathers, I'm not going to try and get precise on them now. I'm going to come back with a soft brush after I've done the main outline of the bird and then cut that back out. So I'm just going to kind of skip right by those. Right now I'm just looking to get the main kind of default outline. And I do want to include the legs just because I want to be able to control the background and the water behind the bird, and the legs even, separately from the legs itself. So there we go. Let's fill this in. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Grab the soft brush with opacity. Come back in now and just kind of get these real tiny wispy feathers. Maybe that brush was a little too small. All right, 0 hardness. There we go. 2 pixels. Let's try 3. That's the size I wanted. And you see I'm just going to softly paint that out. And this, doing it this way lets me get really precise, which I love. And I can do like the softer opacity thing, so I don't have to do 100% on these real thin feathers that kind of stick way out there, because that wouldn't look natural. There we go. We'll hit these wispy feathers down here. There's a couple of them over here. And then lastly, I'm just going to hit, well, you know what? I'm going to save this as its own selection right now. And then go back and lighten the reflection of the bird there, which is super easy. Just because it's all soft and not precise at all. Okay, so you can see how it went too far here with everything, right? The background is way too dark. It just definitely doesn't look that natural at all. So now I'll come in and kind of control this with my paintbrush and painting with some lighter opacity. So I'm just going to bring a little bit more detail back in some of these areas, and then we'll bring a little bit more detail back along the horizon there. It might have been too much, so let's try. There we go. And then I think just overall, I'm just going to lighten the opacity on the whole layer. There we go. There, so that looks legit to me. Legit enough, I should say. I know it's definitely a big change from the original, but I really wanted this to be a little bit more dramatic. Actually, I think I could go a little bit further. I'm going to up that to 80% opacity, and I'm happy with that. So I'll go back to Photoshop now. I mean, back to Lightroom is what I meant to say. Come on, computer, you can do it. Waiting for it to save. There we go. Okay. To the original photo. Let's reset that so we can see what it looks like. Not a huge, massive change on this one, but a pretty significant change. I'll bring these up together. There we go. We got original on the left, final on the right. So we go from that to that. There's the final image, guys. I hope you like what I showed you here. This was another real-time edit. Thanks for watching. As I've been mentioning in the last few videos, if you didn't really get to learn exactly what you wanted to out of this, if you really want to learn the steps and the details of how I do all these edits, get in touch with me, visit my website, rayhennessy.com, and shoot me a message, and we can talk about how I can do remote workshops with you to teach you all these techniques. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed.